You've seen the videos. A guy brings electricity to ancient Greece. Socrates shows up. But what is electricity? Can you define its essence? And the whole comment section explodes. Socrates was the original ragebaiter. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Socrates wasn't the most annoying philosopher in ancient Greece. He was just the first one who got famous for it. There was a whole league of these guys, men who made asking stupid questions a lifestyle, men who lived in barrels, charged money to annoy you, and in one case, literally laughed themselves to death. So today, let's meet the people your history teacher forgot to warn you about, the philosophers who made ancient Athens want to pull out its collective hair. And yeah, we're doing it with stick figures, because some things are funnier when drawn on graph paper. Let's start with the poster child, Socrates. 470 BC, Athens is the center of the world. Democracy is new. The city is buzzing with smart people saying smart things. And then there's Socrates. He doesn't write anything down. No books, no scrolls, just shows up in the marketplace, the agora, and starts talking to people. But he doesn't teach, he asks. What is justice? What is courage? What is virtue? You'd think, okay, maybe he wants a conversation. No, he wants to expose you. His method was simple. You give an answer, he pokes holes in it, you refine it, he pokes more holes, until you finally admit, I don't know anything. And Socrates says, good, now we can begin. That's it. That's the Socratic method. It's basically the ancient Greek version of a YouTube comment section. He made the most powerful people in Athens look stupid, in public, for fun. And he did it without charging a single drachma, which, to be honest, made him even more annoying. Because if you paid someone to humiliate you, at least you could say you got what you paid for. Socrates did it for free, out of love. Now, the Athenians eventually had enough. They put him on trial for two things: corrupting the youth and impiety. The real crime, making the powerful look foolish. He was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock. His friends begged him to escape. Athens had a pretty relaxed prison system. Bribes were normal. Socrates said, no. I've spent my whole life arguing that one should follow principles. I'm not going to run just because the principles are inconvenient. So he drank the poison. And with his dying breath, he asked his friend Crito, hey, Crito, we owe a rooster to Asclepius. Don't forget to pay it. Translation, even in death, he gave instructions. That's commitment to being insufferable. If Socrates was annoying, Diogenes was a nuclear disaster. Diogenes lived in a ceramic barrel, not a metaphor, a literal barrel. He owned one wooden bowl until he saw a kid drinking water with his hands. He threw the bowl away and said, that child has more wisdom than me. His philosophy? Cynicism. And no, not the, everything sucks cynicism. The original cynicism. Live in accordance with nature, reject all social conventions, and make everyone around you deeply uncomfortable. He carried a lamp in broad daylight. When people asked why, he said, I'm looking for an honest man. He walked into theaters backwards. When asked why, he said, I'm tired of being pushed around by the crowd. He ate in the marketplace, which doesn't sound crazy until you remember Greeks considered eating in public about as civilized as chewing with your mouth open while narrating it. But his greatest hits involved Plato. Plato defined man as a featherless biped. Diogenes plucked a chicken, brought it to Plato's academy, and declared, behold, Plato's man. Plato called him a Socrates gone mad. One time, Alexander the Great, came to visit Diogenes. Alexander stood over his barrel, blocking the sun, and said, I am Alexander the Great. Ask me anything you desire. Diogenes looked up and said, yeah, could you move? You're blocking my sunlight. Alexander later said, if I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes. That's how you know Diogenes was the real deal. A guy who conquered half the world wished he was the homeless man in a barrel. How did Diogenes die? Depends who you ask. One story says he ate raw octopus and died of cholera. Another says he held his breath until he died. Either way, you know he did it just to have the last word.
Now we get to the guy who saw Socrates and thought, what if I did all that, but for money? Aristippus of Cyrene. He was a student of Socrates, but while Socrates was asking free questions, Aristippus was asking, "How much are you paying?" He founded the Cyrenaic school. Their philosophy? Pleasure is the highest good. Not in a "I'll have another glass of wine" way, in a life is about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain way. He charged for his teachings, and not small fees. Rich people paid big drachmas to learn how to be happy. Here's the joke. Socrates was free and everyone wanted him dead. Aristippus charged and everyone wanted him at dinner parties. He once said, "I possess, I am not possessed," meaning he enjoyed luxury but claimed he could live without it. Whether that's true or just marketing, we'll never know. But the fun part? He taught that you should never let pleasure own you. You should own pleasure. So he'd go to fancy parties, enjoy the food, drink the wine, and when the host got annoying, he'd just leave. Imagine showing up to a wedding, eating the steak, and walking out before the speeches. That's Aristippus. He died in old age, comfortably, which honestly might be the most annoying thing about him. The barrel guy died miserable, the free question guy died executed, the guy who charged money died with a full stomach. Now we jump to Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. If Socrates asked questions and Diogenes broke rules, Zeno said, "What if we just endure everything with dignity?" Zeno was a merchant. He was shipwrecked near Athens, lost everything. He walked into a bookstore, read about Socrates, and said, "All right, I'll become a philosopher." He started teaching in the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch, hence Stoicism. His teachings: control what you can, accept what you can't, and don't let emotions control you. Sounds reasonable, right? Until you meet the guy. Zeno was apparently not a great speaker. He paced, he mumbled, he repeated himself. Students came because the philosophy was good, not because the lectures were fun. He lived to be about 72, and legend says he died by holding his breath, which might be a myth, but if it's true, it means two major philosophers in this story chose to suffocate themselves on purpose, which says a lot about ancient Greece's mental health resources. And now, the grand finale, the philosophers whose death is so absurd it belongs in a comedy sketch, Chrysippus of Soli. He became head of the Stoic school after Zeno. He wrote over 700 books, most of them apparently argumentative and repetitive. But his claim to fame is how he died. According to legend, Chrysippus saw a donkey eating figs from his garden. He turned to a servant and said, "Quick, give the donkey some wine to wash it down." Then he laughed so hard at the donkey drinking wine joke that his body just quit. Now, some historians say it's apocryphal. Others say it's absolutely true because Chrysippus was known for making jokes at inappropriate times. But here's the beautiful thing. We still talk about him. We don't remember his 700 books. We remember that he died because a donkey eating figs was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. If that's not the perfect ending for a philosopher, I don't know what is. So, what do we learn from these guys? Socrates asked questions until people killed him. Diogenes lived in a barrel and insulted Alexander the Great. Aristippus got paid to make people happy. Zeno taught dignity from a porch. Chrysippus died laughing at a donkey. They were annoying. They were insufferable. They were, at times, absolute menaces. But they forced people to think. They made Athens uncomfortable. And discomfort sometimes is the beginning of wisdom. So, the next time you see a viral video about Socrates asking dumb questions about electricity, remember, he wasn't the only one. He was just the one who got famous. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go laugh at a donkey and hope I make it to the next video.